welcome to episode 2 of United by Rice. How you doing, Ben?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Oh, in case no one knows me, which isn't a surprise, I'm Junko Goda, and my co-host is Ben Lee. And our episode 2, we actually have had past tense, present tense, Bobo Lay, who is Kendall in the Wedding Banquet. And we had a really, really fun interview. She's just really easy to easy interviewer, you know.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm excited for everyone to know just how fun and what a great environment it was for Bobo and the cast to shoot. So and their experiences too. So yeah, how about you, Ben? What do you think about the Wedding Banquet?
Yeah, well, I am looking forward to hearing how people react to the interview with Bobo. I think it's a very significant film, right, in the AAPI and queer landscape. And I don't think that moment's lost on her, even though it's her first major film. So the appreciation that she has for the moment, the opportunity, the cast that she got to work with, Andrew Ahn, the director, will really shine through. Well, you asked, like, what did I think of the film?
Yeah.
I've seen it twice actually now. I went to the premiere just a couple weeks ago, but also had watched it on a screener. And, I think I liked it more than I thought maybe I would when I saw it on the big screen, right? Because I think the laughs and the cries, come through, and there are moments of both of those in abundance. I'd love to get into the performances a little bit, but I think the cast is incredibly strong, right? From top to bottom, you've got legends, with Joan Chen and Yunji. I always pronounce her name incorrectly,
Well,
but
Bobo referred to her as YJ, so we could
YJ.
be really cool and borrow from Bobo.
That's right. We'll just call it YJ. But you've got like legends at the top of the film, and then you've got, of course, Bowen Yang, who everybody knows from SNL. You've got Kelly Marie Tran, who everybody knows from Star Wars. You got Lily Gladstone, nominated for an Academy Award, I think, just a year ago. So it's an incredible cast. And then, Hanji, who is maybe newer to Western audiences, but I'm sure he's very well known in the Korean landscape or
and I
Korean
think he
drama
really
landscape.
rounds out the cast really well too. And when I had initially heard that Lily was part of the Wedding Banquet, I was like, huh, okay. I'm like, how's that? It was just like, oh, it would be nice to see her in something. I think, or the most mainstream Lily's done is all very dramatic leaning, and this is like drama with a touch of sugar.
Yeah, and that's a good way to describe this film, right? I think, Andrew, who I know you know personally, is really working with a lot in this film, right? It's like 4 genres. It's AAPI, it's LGBTQIA, it is comedy, it is rom-com, but obviously you're dealing with some very serious cultural topics like IVF even, which especially in the current news cycles there. So putting a lot together, and I think you actually need a cast with some heft to be able to pull those storylines through in an elegant way like Andrew did.
Yeah, and also just, with his career and his trajectory so far, it was kind of like, I don't know, it feels like the right size, the right kind of, and also, the I guess the estate of Ang Lee obviously had to give permission and all that. So, and Andrew's a friend of mine, and absolutely, just props to Andrew, for chiseling away at it, and just, for bringing a lot of joy through the Wedding Banquet. And yeah, it does touch on a lot of things, but and we're almost at the right time. The timing of the complexity of that. And, a lot of times, there's a lot of like API creators, like, we will talk about, being children of immigrants or being immigrants and things like that. And then in this day and age, like adding the additional layers of identity, and just really having a nice balance of it could get what was it, getting deep and touching to the heart of it at the right times, and then otherwise like balancing out with the light. Actually, it's actually my stand-up moment for Joan Chen is in the trailer when she's dancing with the lions. It's in the trailer, so I could say that. But once if you haven't seen The Wedding Banquet yet and you go see it, you'll understand the context of it. But like, I think that's one of the funniest moments I've seen Joan, at least like for a stateside film.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we're used to seeing her in films like The Last Emperor, right? And here she brings a lot of levity, if not maybe the most. Maybe not the most laughs. Like obviously Bobo's very funny, Bowen's very funny. They all have Hanji Chan very funny. Like they all have their moments.
Yeah.
But Joan, like.
Because as an audience, we've seen her for a large part of her career, and I'm like, Joan's dancing with a lion. It's kind of funny.
yes, and not just dancing, a little dirty dancing with the lion dancer, right? Yeah. I mean, her character is fascinating, right? Because I think usually what you see in an Asian film is a mother who's more of a tiger mom, right? And I think maybe there are hints that at some point she was that too, and it's Kelly Marie Tran who plays Angela, her daughter. Right. But actually at this stage of the relationship where we meet them, Mei Chen, so the character that Joan plays, is accepting of Angela, but the twist is she's perhaps leaning into it so much for her own like social good, right? Like to be able to get up on a stage and say, I'm so proud to be, the mother of a queer child. Look at me. I'm so supportive.
Yeah. Which actually, harkening back to Joy Luck Club, it's the Waverly, Waverly, the chess champion.
Right.
From Joy Luck Club, going through San Francisco Chinatown, and she's, she's proud of her daughter, but it's kind of for her mom's gain, yeah.
So in terms of the couples, right, we have Angela and Lee, so that's Kelly and Lily, and then we have Hanji Chan who plays Min, and Bo and Yang who plays Chris, and then as we mentioned earlier, Bobo rounds out the kind of the young generation cast as Chris's cousin Kendall, and they are all, they all are asked, I think, by Andrew to be both funny and poignant, and they all have moments like that, and I don't think that's something that all actors can pull off, but this cast does a really nice job of that. To me, Hanji Chan, definitely as a new face for me, and probably for a lot of global film audience. He was amazing. He was so funny. There's a line, can I say it? I don't know if I should reveal it. I'll probably save it.
I actually wasn't sure about Min at the beginning of I had to be a little bit convinced. I'm like, who are you? How do you fit in? And I'm like, okay, but then once his secrets are revealed, which we will not spoil it here right now, but once his like background and his intentions and his secrets are revealed, I'm like, yeah, I think that's when I was like, yeah, Team Min.
Yeah.
I definitely had to warm up to Min, and I do wonder if some of it, because Min, the other three out of the two pairs of couples, the other three have, we might not know their specific backgrounds, but they have clearly been in either like in North America, either like US or Canada for a very long time. And so Min definitely like, initially like he's supposed to feel like an exchange student, like a graduate or college or undergrad or graduate student kind of feel. So I was like, what's going on here? And then the scope really opens up so much once things are revealed, and his story is more told. So I ended up, I wasn't on board at first, but I really like him.
His grandmother is played by Yoon Yoo-jung. And of course she is, I think especially to viewers of Korean shows and films, will recognize her, right? She was in Minari, she's in Pachinko. Every scene she's in, she has so much gravity, and she really, you can't stop watching her. You can't not listen to every beat that she has. And so to your point about Min's character, the two of them as a story, right? Because you know, he's the grandson, he is supposed to take over the family business, but has interest more in the arts.
Right.
You know, he is gay, but grandma suspects, although they've never had a conversation about it.
Right.
And grandfather definitely doesn't know, right? So there's a lot going on there. And really, a lot of the insanity begins when she makes a surprise visit, right? To meet his would-be bride.
Yeah, and it's also reflective of, like, I think in Asia, it's you know, the hiding in plain sight. Everyone knows, but no one ever talks about it. So I appreciated that. So it's a little bit, you know, by this time in the story, Grandpa's already passed away. Is that correct? He's already passed. Oh, no.
No. She says he doesn't have long to live. We don't ever learn if that's just old age or if he's sick or anything.
So it's, you know, even questionable. Like, oh, is Grandpa really not know, or is it one of those like, we're just not going to talk about it?
Right.
Yeah, but it feels very real.
Yeah, and it talks to, like, the power of this film, right? There's not a lot said or discussed. You're kind of left as the viewer to fill in some of the gaps in the backstory. We talked about this with Bobo, like, what's her backstory? But you know, whether it's generational trauma that Asian second generation, first generation Asians always have, or obviously the, coming out moments that are, obviously alluded to in this film quite often. There's a lot going on, and I think it's a very, very meaningful film for people that are going to watch it. I have a question for you. So the movie, I hinted at one line already that made me laugh a lot.
Right.
Was there a performance or even a scene that stood out to you that you would say, if you defined a great movie by a scene that is memorable or a couple scenes that are memorable, which are the ones that you will always remember?
Well, over here, there's definitely Bobo's scene, which I do talk about later when we have her on. But but going beyond that, the other one, which I thought was so rare to see, and I wanted to give Andrew so much props, was a scene between Joan and Yoon Yoo-jung, the mothers, because you never really see that, and it was so intentional, and that's actually a scene I wouldn't mind, like, just watching again standalone for that scene. Because it was kind of astounding to me in a way. To re-examine that, because I think there's, like, a lot more going on than on first watch, for me at least. Well,
there's a lot unsaid, right? In fact, the scene you're talking about is a dinner scene, and there's not that much conversation, right? They just kind of understand each other, and they understand their children or grandchildren and what they're going through.
I think those two actors, they've been doing it for such a long time that they don't have to say anything. And Andrew's probably just like, he could have just, like, given them a nursery rhyme and we would have come out with the same thing. That's right. It's more about the unsaid than what is stated. So that's another masterclass.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, and sorry for those listening. I know we're kind of top around scenes. We really don't want to spoil too much because we want you all to definitely go watch the film and watch it with your friends, watch it with your families, because we want to support this film as well.
Yeah.
Again, it's rare to have a film like this. So let's talk about the place this film occupies in the landscape. It's a hot take because I know we've just watched this film, but where do you think this sits in the library and historical library and context for Asian American films?
Yeah, I think there's not that many films out there that isn't all Asian Asian cast, first of all, and then just hitting it hard with just the LGBTQ, just the visibility, and
as Bobo says, super gay film.
Yes, super gay film, so gay. And I think in a 2025 film with that, there's just so much like joy, and because, for example, off the top of my head, like Saving Face was more about two people like figuring out their identity, whereas now it's like we're already in this situation where we are already in an accepted situation, which includes like the how do you conceive a child and trying to start a family and the realities of that exist in 2025. So it's I think it's big for like the kids right now who are like in their teens and like early 20s, to have this for them right now at this moment in time, and that they can see that there's these completely fully formed people with their flaws, but they are living according to their identities.
Yes.
And that's where we're already starting from. So
and so much celebration of it. And again, and Bobo will talk about this a lot too. I think the community has really embraced this film, and it is. I mean, look, everything we're going through, if you're not queer or not Asian, is still generally been some tough times, right? So just having reasons to celebrate and appreciate people for what they are is, credit to Bleecker Street for getting behind this film and bringing it to audiences in theaters, importantly, right? Before it goes to the streaming networks.
Definitely.
Well, anything else you want to say about the film?
No. Actually, I wanted to bounce the question back to you, Ben, as far as how do you see the Wedding Banquet?
Well, like you said, there's very few, right, to choose from, and it's a big part of why we're doing this podcast, right? Like these stories don't often get made, and there's a lot of them to tell. And frankly, sometimes you'll watch a TV show or a film, and they're playing the percentages, right? It's like, okay, if 6% of the Asian of the population's Asian, and 5 to 10% are gay, let's just combine them into one character, because then we've met our quota, right? I think we see a lot of that on TV, right? Whereas this movie doesn't do that, right? Yes, we have a lot of gay Asian characters, but it's not because they're just checking a box for a studio to make sure that they have representation.
Yeah, we were able to accept them as grounded in reality.
Yeah. So, I think this film, who knows how it does in the box office? Like, who knows how any film does in the box office? I don't know how open people will be to go watch this film other than our community. But I think it will have legs. I think it will do really well in streaming. I think people will watch it. They'll look back at some of the moments that we've talked about, and I think really come to appreciate it over time. So it will hold a place, I believe. And again, knowing that Andrew, like, great for him, and I think this hopefully opens even more doors for him as well.
Yeah. Well, let's see how they age over time.
Yes. Thank you to all of our listeners, however many there are, who have hung in with us for these first 2 episodes. As we work out the kinks, we promise they'll continue to get better and better. And we'll continue to bring some great guests for you. But now let's play our recording of the interview we just did with Bobo Lay, who again plays Kendall in The Wedding Banquet by Andrew Ahn. Cheers, everybody. We're here with Bobo Lee, one of the stars of the latest Andrew Ahn film, The Wedding Banquet. And as Junko and I talked about prior to you joining, you're the scene stealer. We independently came to each other with that comment. It's like, oh, Bobo steals the movie. So it's very exciting for us to talk to you.
Oh my god, that means so much to me. Thank you so much. I'm super happy to be talking to you guys today.
Yay! We're excited that you had time for us. So thanks for
thanks
for making the time.
Anytime. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I can jump in with the kind of first question. You know, I know that you had reached some fame as a dancer. I'd love to know your transition to becoming an actress, what sparked that desire, and then ultimately how did you end up in The Wedding Banquet?
So, when I was really, really young, I think I was like 7, I watched So You Think You Can Dance on TV. And I remember seeing a dancer who did this style called popping. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I just watched So You Think You Can Dance every day and tried to copy their moves. And then YouTube became a thing. And when YouTube became a thing, there were all these, dance tutorials on the internet. So I would just watch them over and over and over and just practice in front of the mirror. And I fell in love with dance so much. I found a community, a street dance community here in Vancouver. And I got to meet so many people who shared the same love for popping, and we got to cypher with each other, and we started doing battles, and I was really invested in the dance scene, and worked on a music video, and I thought, what a cool environment it is to be on a set, where you get to create with so many different kinds of people from all kinds of different departments. There's even like a greens department, and I thought that was so cool, just the amount of people that just come together to make this cool thing. So I wanted to explore what it was like, what else could I do in film aside from dance? And one of my favorite things about dance is the storytelling aspect. And a lot of it was physical storytelling with dance. And I found that, wait, I could verbally tell stories. And that's where I was like, oh, I can, let's explore acting and see what that's like. So I took a couple workshops and I fell in love with acting so much, and that's kind of where I started leaning into it a little bit more. But at the time, I was in dental school, and I was doing a lot of things.
Wait, your dentist school, learning how to pop, and then taking acting classes.
So
okay,
here was the turning point for me. Was I was writing a final exam. There was a written portion and a practical portion in school, and I was doing the written portion, and I saw in the morning there was this big open call for Step Up 5, the movie. It was shooting in Vancouver. And at the time, I didn't have an agent. I knew nothing about the business, nothing at all. I just saw that open call, and I was like, they're calling unions, non-unions, everybody, So I was writing this exam, and I was thinking, man, I really, really want to be at that audition. And instead of just getting up and going to the audition, I got up, I walked to the office, and I said to the lady, I want to drop out.
Yes.
And the woman was so sweet. She was like, do you need to talk to somebody? Do you want to sit down and talk about it? And I was like, no, I want to drop out. And so I did. I signed all the paperwork. I went to my locker, grabbed all my stuff, and I ran down the street to do the audition. And I didn't have any other clothes, so I did the audition in scrubs.
I thought you were going to say scrubs.
Yeah, I was fully in scrubs when I did the audition. I loved doing the audition, but I didn't get the job. And now I had a bunch of student loans, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I still didn't know. I'm like, being an actor, what even is that? But that, I think, was the turning point of finding out that, like, oh, there's something inside me that, like, this is my calling. You know, I think the universe is trying to tell me something, that I'm meant to be doing something else. I don't know what it is, but it's not this.
Well, and as, you know, we're all children of Asian parents, did you run it by your parents before you told the administrator that you were dropping out?
I did not run it by my parents at all. My parents were not pleased to hear the news that I had dropped out. But they are very supportive today, so that's where we are.
Sure. It's like, here, meet Joan Chen.
Exactly. And my mom did get to meet Joan Chen and Yoon Yo-jung and their entire cast. And it was so amazing because I took her out to Sundance when we first premiered our movie. And that was such a sweet moment for my mom to see, you know, what being an actor is like, and, you know, this beautiful film that we made.
Nice, yeah.
Great. I have one quick question before we jump back into the Wedding Banquet. For those, maybe including myself, who don't really know what popping is, can you describe that?
Okay.
Or can you just, is it easier to do it versus explaining it?
So it's like, you kind of like pop your muscles like this, and then, you know, like the whole waving, like the robot stuff, and like little isolations.
Yeah.
That's popping.
Is there a difference between pop and lock and pop?
There is a big difference between popping and locking.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so it is
there's a
pop
difference.
and lock, but otherwise they
pop
exist on their own.
Yeah, locking
well.
is you know, it's more. I think it's more groovy. I think locking.
Yeah.
It's different.
I think at my age I'd sprain a muscle or tear a ligament trying to do that. So you won't see me pop anytime soon. Well, let's talk about the Wedding Banquet. So, had you seen the previous version of the Wedding Banquet, Ang Lee's version, and how did this get presented to you? Was it an open call also?
So I have seen the previous version of the Wedding Banquet, and I love it so much. Our version, you know, it came in like any other audition. It's just through my agent, and I just auditioned for it like I normally would with any other acting audition.
And then my understanding is that based on what the role was written and what we see on the final screen or final cut, your role expanded quite a bit. Can you talk about how that happened?
Yeah, it was so amazing, and I never saw it coming. You know, Kendall was supposed to be Bowen's character's friend initially. And when I did the audition, I had a callback session with Andrew Ahn, our director, and our producers, Joe Pirro and Caroline Clark. And it was amazing because, you know, I basically, at a callback, I did the same audition, and, you know, they're throwing different things at me, seeing what I could do with it. And at the very end of the audition, Andrew asked me, do you have any questions about the script or the character? And I said, yeah, you know, I noticed there's a scene where Kendall goes to the club. And I said to Andrew, I can dance. And then Andrew was like, wait, you can? I was like, yeah. So I pulled my phone out and I put on a random song and I started freestyling for Andrew and all our producers. And they loved it so much. Andrew was just like, where'd you learn how to do that? And I was like, YouTube. And you know, they loved it so much. Andrew ended up writing a dance scene into the movie for me. You get to see a little bit of me dancing in there, and it was amazing. I think that, you know, I brought this, you know, this spontaneity, this pureness, this, you know, gentle chaos, if you will, to Kendall. And I think that Andrew saw that Chris and Kendall could be related, that they could be siblings or cousins. There's this chaotic sibling energy that Kendall brings. And that's when Andrew had the idea that, oh, they would make really great cousins. And it brought out so many more layers to, you know, each of our characters, because I think it really brought out this really caring side of Bowen's character and all the things that he's going through. He's been taking care of Kendall for a long time. And now Kendall is here to encourage him to, like, you know, it's time for you to take care of yourself. And that was something so beautiful that we got to explore. And it was awesome because, you know, me and Bowen, we were getting, you know, rewrites or a new scene on the day in hair and makeup. And it was intense, but so rewarding because me and Bowen got to be so present with each other in getting, you know, these new scenes and just truly feeling what our characters are feeling in this moment and their relationship with each other and how to show up for each other in these moments.
Yeah, and like, I was just gonna say, like, you know, props to Andrew, and I guess, you know, how much say as the, you know, director that he has, that he was able to continually, you know, it sounds like you guys were constantly making tweaks to the script as you were going along, and so I guess Andrew really created an environment for that, because you didn't know Andrew beforehand, before the audition.
No,
really, right? The callback.
I didn't know Andrew. Yeah. I didn't know anybody on this production.
Yeah, I've known him for a really long time. He's like the sweetest, but it's very Andrew also to be able to incorporate all that and be like, you can dance, and like, oh, you have these qualities, and to really weave it in. So, and you really, you know, and really let you guys shine too.
Andrew creates such a safe space for us to play. Yeah. And that's the most beautiful thing about working on a set with Andrew, is he just really encourages us to, you know, to be ourselves and to lean into our strengths. And he draws that, and, you know, and he creates a space that draws the best things out of us. And that's what I love about working with Andrew and Bowen so much, is, you know, they're so open and so warm and so encouraging, and, you know, the idea of exploring is a big one, you know, on Andrew's side.
Yeah, and you know, don't always get that opportunity, but you know, I can see Andrew definitely creating that atmosphere for you guys. So that's really awesome.
I'm spoiled by Andrew.
Yeah.
You have you actually touched on the scene. It's one of my favorite scenes. It's as much as you're a scene stealer for the dancing and the jokes, the scene with Bowen where, you know, he's at that, I guess, turning point, you know, of you know, am I in this relationship, not, and self-doubting himself whether he's good enough. You really kind of encourage him, and that scene hints at a backstory that you have that we don't really get to hear much about, right? Like that he was there for you and now you're good. Can you tell us, like, is there a backstory that Andrew created, or did you have to kind of create one for yourself?
Or is it a secret that no one should know?
I think it's a little secret between me and Bowen that could potentially be explored in a sequel.
Oh, good. Yes, then let's keep it secret.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that I think it's a very beautiful story, and I think that they have so much history together, and this moment is crucial for Bowen's character in terms of his development in moving his life forward.
That's a scene that I really, and I was talking to Ben about this, but it's like, it was textbook. It was textbook being there for your scene partner to the T, because when Bowen's character is like absorbing what you've said, and you know that is a big turning point, I was like, oh, that looks really good, but Bobo made Bowen look really, really good. That's all Bobo right there. It's all Bobo. And that was so textbook. Like, caring for your partner, and always, the intention always to make the other person look really great, and that's what you did. And that's exactly what an actor is supposed to do. So I was like, ooh. Like, good moment. So props to you on that one.
Thank you so much. I found it so easy to do, especially with Bowen, because I feel like me and Bowen, we're in all of our scenes, we're just so present with each other. And even, you know, when the cameras are not rolling, Bowen is always checking in on me and being like, hey, like, you know, how are you doing? And is it okay if I do this? You know, what do you think of this? And I think that we just have this trust with each other, and I think it really does shine in that scene that, you know, you're talking about, because we have that level of trust with each other, and I don't find it difficult at all to just be there for Bowen.
Yeah, and, you know, speaking of trust, is that something that, did Andrew have some sort of, like, pre-production get-together, other than, I'm going to guess you probably did a table read over Zoom, maybe out of convenience, but did, you know, production or Andrew, like, intentionally have, like, hey, let's meet together before we start shooting, or is this something that developed over the course?
So the crazy thing is there were no table reads, no screen tests. As far as I'm concerned, there There's nothing like that. The only thing that we had was there was a night where Andrew's like, hey, let's have dinner. And, you know, we went out for dinner. It was me, Bowen, Kelly, Kichan, and Andrew. And yeah, we just had a dinner together. And the hilarious thing is, me, Kelly, Bowen, and Kichan, we showed up. This is our first time seeing each other. We showed up wearing the same thing.
What?
Yeah, we showed up in a full Canadian tuxedo, jean jacket and jeans, all four of us. And I have a photo of it. It's on my Instagram. If you scroll through it, you'll see it. That was our first day meeting, and it was meant to be.
Wow.
We all showed up like this.
Okay, wait, back up. You have to explain to the American crowd, what is this Canadian tuxedo?
A Canadian tuxedo is your full jean jacket and jeans, blue. That's a Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah, I did not know that.
That is hilarious.
I just learned something new.
Yeah.
Yep.
On the camaraderie piece, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I met you at the premiere or after party for the premiere, and you and Bowen and Kelly, who I'd met once before, can't be nicer people, right? Like hugs. Aww. And so I can only imagine what it's like on set. Probably not tough to build camaraderie with that group of actors. Can you talk more about, obviously Bowen's your primary scene partner, but what it was like to work with the rest of the cast, and any takeaways that you have that you'll incorporate into your own process as you go forward?
You know, it's so amazing. This is my first ever big film, and I'm working with my idols. Every single one of them. It is such a privilege and such an honor to just get to, you know, work with them as an actor, but also as people. I like to think that I'm like their little baby. And I mean, it's my first one, and all of them have been so sweet and so kind to me. And they know that it's, you know, my first time doing something like this. And the amount of care and how gentle they are with me and how excited they are for me to be doing this with them, it really made my experience so incredible. And, you know, the amount of time that we spent together, on set and off set as well, you know, we were going on hikes together. And I'm the local Vancouverite. So we were getting in my car and I was driving them around. And, you know, we went to Stanley Park, we went to Squamish. You know, at one point my leg gave out. Kelly and Keishan were carrying me up a mountain. You know, there's so many moments that, you know, we got to bond. And, you know, with Joan, when I went to London, we were on the same flight, and I was telling Joan, like, Joan, this is my first time flying business class.
Nice.
My first time going to Europe. And Joan gave me a big hug, and she was just like, this is just the beginning.
Aww.
And it's so, you know, it's all these moments, and coming to LA, my first time, you know, seeing you, Ben, that was my first time in LA. And the first meal that I had.
That was your first time in LA?
First time
Wow.
in LA. And the first meal that I had was a dinner with Yoon Jung. She invited me out for Korean barbecue, and I was, you know, it was my first time having a meal this amazing, and, you know, I was just eating, and YJ was just watching me, like, so happy seeing me eat so well. And, you know, it's all these moments, you know, of my real life experience with these incredible actors, and being on set with them and seeing how they work and seeing their greatness has really taught me so much about, like, the importance of showing up authentically and as myself. And I really do, you know, carry that forward and double down on that. You know, I showed up so much as myself that the character was rewritten. And it was so beautiful because, you know, had I not, we would not see the Kendall that we see today on screen. And I think it's such a beautiful experience, and this is a memory too that I will always remember, is being in a car with Kelly in LA, and I see the Hollywood sign in the distance, and I'm sticking my head out, and I'm like, look, it's the Hollywood sign, oh my God. And, you know, it's so special because I feel the embrace of every single actor, and them seeing me experience things for the first time. And I just feel so lucky to have this be my first with the most iconic people.
Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
whole time.
No,
I want to talk about Kelly too, because Kelly is also a Vietnamese American actress, and she had a rough go of it. Right, she got to be in the Star Wars universe, but then took so much, I guess we'll call it like fanboy hate for it, right? That she had to shut off social media and all those type of things, and yet she's rebounded. I think she's in like 4 starring roles this year. Just amazing. I'm so happy for her. Did she have any advice to you as a Vietnamese actress coming up yourself?
Kelly is so special to me because I've been looking up to her forever. And she is a close friend of mine today, and we talk pretty much every day. And I feel like it's such a privilege to have Kelly be not only my friend, but also a mentor to me, in that she really does encourage me to stay true to myself. Whatever it is that comes through with this project and moving forward, staying true to myself and staying close to my loved ones, that's something that, she really emphasizes for me and wants for me. And she's one of those people that I love so much, and it's really special being able to share these experiences with her and to hear her insight on it as well.
It's great.
When you think back of yourself, let's say the night before you went out to dinner with Andrew and everyone else in your fancy schmancy Canadian tuxedos, and since you shot it, you're now on doing the media interviews, this is like the life cycle of a film. They've kind of gone through it all. What would you say to yourself, like the night before or like the morning before that dinner, before you met everyone, at least the core folks? Like, what would you say to yourself?
Your younger self, like 6 months ago?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say to myself, everything is going to be good. Don't let imposter syndrome get ya, because that's a thing. And the people, people will surprise you, and you're capable of so much more than you think. And just to be open to new people, new experiences, and things that you could never imagine for yourself right now, but even better things are going to happen. So just be present.
So the imposter syndrome thing is real. I had that exact same conversation with Kelly that night, because I told her sometimes I feel that way when I'm getting to share space with talented actors and filmmakers like you. And she said the same thing. She said, I still feel that way. It never goes away. That's the secret.
But I think at the same time, just going to say, like, as creators, we're always outputting, but we're human beings, and we're all ultimately unique at the end of the day. To hold some sort of confidence within that space, but...
Absolutely. It's, for me, I felt it the most, I think, when it was my first day on set shooting with Bowen at Stanley Park. That was my first scene, we're acting now, it's past the dinner. And I felt imposter syndrome because I'm like, I'm like acting opposite Bowen Yang today. Like, I knew I was going to, but like now I'm doing it. I'm actually doing it. But it so quickly went away. We did the first take, Bowen hugged me, and it went away.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was really, really sweet because I really do, thank Bowen so much for that. He made it so easy.
Yeah, and like do you think that would be your probably first time acting across someone else who was like identifies LGBTQ?
Yes.
Right? Probably.
Yeah.
Right?
It is my first time. Which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, you will keep doing more. So, we don't have to worry about that. But how did that shift things for you? Whether it could have been in a dance setting that the other person identifies, or in an acting context, like how did that first time kind of shift things a little bit for you?
That's a great question.
I try.
I guess I didn't think much of it in that moment. I think because I was just so in it, like I'm doing this thing. I wasn't concerned about, anything else really. But to know that acting, opposite Bowen, and he is an LGBTQ icon, I felt really safe, and like also, a lot of our cast and also our crew are queer. So to have that kind of environment, it's just so amazing to be in a room full of incredible queer artists. And that to me is so special because I've never experienced that before. And it was such a welcoming, fun, warm environment. And it just put everything at ease for me. It was just, it's so easy.
Nice.
Yeah. How is it, this film is like a double whammy, right? It's LGBTQIA representation plus the Asian American, we say API representation, right? So and yet we don't see too many of these types of films on either side get made, right? I know we had Crazy Rich Asians a couple of years ago, and that has certainly started. I wouldn't call it opened a floodgate, but it certainly opened the door for more of these movies to get made. Has it sunk in, how special that is, and what's been the reaction that you've gotten from viewers now that the film's been out, I think, a couple weeks now?
It has been this constant thing that I've been feeling, and me and Kelly talk about this all the time, where we'll talk to each other and be like, can you believe we're in a super queer movie with a bunch of Asian people? Like, is this even real? Is this real life? What are the chances? Also, what are the chances that there are two Vietnamese actors, queer actors, in the same movie doing this thing? Like, how incredible it is for us to exist and just be here and be part of this project during this time. And this is something that me and Kelly reflect on all the time. Like, it's like, can you believe this? No, I can't. But we're doing it, and this is real. And for me, I really hope that this continues to be a thing because it's been so rare. Like, I can't think of a movie that is this gay and Asian, at least in this kind of, this kind of type of movie. So it's so special. And coming out to LA, that was my first time being surrounded by so many queer Asian people ever. Yeah. And what a huge community it is over there, and how special it was to see all these people come out and see our movie, and to see their reaction, to see them cry and laugh and feel these feelings of queer joy. Mm-hmm. It's so special to me, and I feel like it's such a dream that I get to be a part of this, and I'm still processing it, really, where I can't believe that I'm in this. And I say this all the time, like, oh, I can't believe I'm here. Everywhere that I go, when I was in LA, I'm like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe this is real. I can't believe this is a thing, It's a special feeling, and it's such a special experience to see people be receptive to it and to see how much it means to them. And it's very similar to how I feel about it. And for, had I not been in this movie myself, let's say I didn't exist in this movie, seeing this kind of movie for me would be so incredibly meaningful. Because I think of all these queer Asian movies I've seen in the past, like, for example, I bring this up, Saving Face.
I was going to say Saving Face.
Saving Face.
Yes.
Joan Chen in Saving Face.
Yeah.
That's a movie, it's the first queer Asian movie I've ever seen. And I watched it over and over and over again, and that's a movie that means so much to me. So this is another layer to it, is I feel full circle for me to be working with Joan Chen. And to be in this modern, telling of the Wedding Banquet with Joan Chen. And that to me is crazy, And I feel like that's something that I think a lot of people feel about seeing our movie, is that this is such a meaningful movie. And it's a movie that we really, really needed.
Yeah, and if you
100%.
Yeah, and if you track exactly, saving face. Actually, this is Lin Chen's movie that she directed over my shoulder. So Lin is watching over you. Not really. Lin! Yay, right here. But she directed this one. But it's like the gift that keeps giving, because every, like, with saving face, every, like, 5 or the 10 or whatever milestone, it crops up. Or if it's any LGBTQ, like, celebration month or weekend or whatever it is, it always pops up, and it's like the gift that keeps giving to all the Asian queer ones.
And I think that's right, because I think a lot of people recognize that it didn't get the initial reach that it should have, right? And so I think a lot of Asian Americans or Asian American queers always talk about that movie as, hey, yes, there's some really good movies coming out, but you need to go back and watch Saving Face, right? Like, that is a groundbreaking movie, and it's so good.
And then the Wedding Banquet, and the Wedding Banquet will be too, and especially, oh my gosh, the mother's scene. I mean, it's a scene you're not in, but that was also,
I love it.
Yeah.
So good.
And did you go to set on, like, the days that you were off, just to be like, oh, it's a scene that I'm not in, but I want to see how it's gonna go? Or would you do set visits on your days off?
I went in on the very last day of our shoot, and that was really special for me. I stayed till the end, and it was a night shoot.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I really wanted to be there for the final moment where, it was a full wrap of the shoot. Yep. And we were out on the streets at, like, probably like 3, 4 a.m. or something like that.
Right. Yeah,
something like that. And there's like a noise ordinance in this, like, neighborhood street. It's the scene where, they're Bowen and Kelly are grabbing dicks, and they're eating and they're walking down the street together.
Yeah.
And so when they called rap, we couldn't clap and yell and be like, oh my god. So we were all just like, yay!
That's great.
At like 3 a.m. It was so funny, but it was so sweet. And yeah, like it's crazy getting to see people do their thing when I'm not in it.
Yep, definitely.
Well, Bobo, Lei, it has been a joy to have you on. We always ask a question. In fact, I'll let Junko ask it, but we ask a question for all of our United by Rice podcast guests.
Yes, so since we are called United by Rice, Bobo, what is your favorite rice dish? It could be of the moment or your entire life. Noodles are included.
Oh my gosh.
Rice noodles are included, because that's rice.
Yes.
So
my favorite rice dish is cơm tấm sườn, which is a Vietnamese, like the broken rice and the egg and the meat with fish sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Comfort food.
Love it.
Good comfort food.
Love
yes.
it.
Yum.
Well, thank you so much. Again, it's been wonderful. Everybody, you need to go watch The Wedding Banquet. It is a wonderful film. It is, as everything we've talked about, it will make you cry. It will make you laugh a lot. And it is a real treat to see you, Bobo, in the film. Really, your star is shining, and we expect to see many great things in the near future for you.
Thank you so much. I had such a great time talking to you guys about the movie, and I'm so happy that you enjoyed it so much.
Congrats, Bobo. We'll see you back in LA.
Thank you. See you in LA.
Yes, come say hi.
I will.
All right, take care.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.